Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome back to another Square Theory. So, let's talk about the big one. Annoy Squidward, torture Squidward, whatever you want to call it. Today, we're going to be talking about these Annoy, Torture Squidward episodes. Let me just state right now that for the purposes of this video, my definition of Squid Torture episodes are any episode in which Squidward is tortured physically or mentally. Doesn't matter if they are good episodes, bad episodes, whether he deserved it or not, whether SpongeBob and Patrick are the ones doing it, or if he's doing it to himself, or whoever. The way I'm defining it is literally any episode that features Squidward being tortured for the main plot of the episode. A lot of people have their own opinions and terms for this sort of thing, but I am strictly talking about the story type in which Squidward is harmed. So today I really wanted to kind of talk about when I think that plot format works versus when I think it doesn't work. And to do this, we're going to be looking at two different episodes. One is good, the other is ScumBob. So I'm going to be comparing Jellyfishing to The Thing. Now, before we get really deep into this, I need to talk about two of the main differences between these episodes, because in general, they're pretty similar. Both of them feature Squidward being trapped in a shell where he can only move a little bit and can only really grunt. Both of them also coincidentally feature Squidward riding his bicycle thing away from SpongeBob and Patrick when he runs into the thing that ends up making him trapped. It's quite the coincidence there. But the two big differences between Jellyfishing and The Thing are, one, the fact that Jellyfishing was like 5 episodes in, so the show was a lot more simple. It was a lot more atmospheric and slow, and SpongeBob and Patrick are definitely prototypes of the characters that they would become. So already off the bat, it kind of has that tonal difference, whereas the later seasons, I mean, even season 2 and 3 are really in your face, trying to be really fast, really just loud, and yeah. Secondly, and this is a difference that really kind of matters, is the fact that in The Thing, SpongeBob and Patrick don't know it's Squidward. They think it is a wild animal, versus Jellyfishing when they know it's Squidward. I don't think this makes much of a difference, to be honest, because whether it's Squidward or a wild animal, SpongeBob and Patrick should still not be treating it the way they're treating it. It's not that they're treating Squidward like he's a pet, it's the fact that they're doing things like pegging him with a ball over and over again and stepping on him. Even if he were supposed to be a pet, even if SpongeBob and Patrick believed he was a pet, like in the episode, there is definitely some treatment there that shouldn't be going on, especially because SpongeBob is already a pet owner. So let's dive in here. So I'm going to be talking about a few differences between these episodes that I think are things that really kind of serve to accentuate when this plot works versus when it doesn't work. So first of all, Jellyfishing feels like this is the first time that this has ever happened to Squidward, where SpongeBob and Patrick really stalk him and annoy him and all that, versus The Thing, where it feels like this is something that's happened to Squidward a lot before. Now, in the episodes as a whole, in the structure of the series, Jellyfishing was only the 5th episode compared to The Thing, which is like some 100 episodes in. So to us, the audience, yeah, Jellyfishing is, outside of maybe Reef Blower, the first time that has happened to Squidward, versus The Thing, which we've seen a few episodes up to that point that kind of fit that structure. But even outside of, like, audience expectations as to where they are in the series, just little cues within the episode kind of show us that Squidward in Jellyfishing isn't afraid of SpongeBob and Patrick. It's not like he sees them and he thinks that this is going to happen to him. He sees them and he kind of snarks them off, as opposed to The Thing, where he explicitly goes out of his way to try and look for SpongeBob to see if the coast is clear that he can enjoy his day. That is a really, really big difference there. The Thing makes Squidward seem like this abuse victim that's kind of been the victim of this and is actively trying to prevent this, even though he knows that he can't, versus Jellyfishing, where it just kind of feels like a random happenstance between neighbors. He's not afraid of SpongeBob and Patrick. So next up, in Jellyfishing, SpongeBob and Patrick are somewhat aware of their actions and even apologize at the end. In The Thing, they have no clue throughout. They never find out that Squidward was the animal, they never apologize, they never really do anything that indicates they have remorse for treating this animal pretty terribly. They feel bad that Squidward gets locked up in the zoo, But other than that, no. And this is a pretty big difference. This is what makes SpongeBob and Patrick really unlikable. And it's not like they have to break from the usual shtick of SpongeBob and Patrick being really ignorant to these horrible things happening. You can have them be ignorant, but then acknowledge it and realize it towards the end, like they do in Jellyfishing. Just a little apology or a little self-awareness goes a long way. It really kind of sells the point home that SpongeBob and Patrick are just making these goofy mistakes, as opposed to just intentionally torturing Squidward, which it feels like sometimes. In episodes like The Thing, it feels like every little thing is just out to get Squidward. No matter how random and contrived it is, Squidward will get punished. The fact that the clarinet player that he looks up to is actually playing at the end of The Thing, just for his shell to break and him to be discovered for who knows what to happen to him, come on, that's pretty far out there, and it just seems like a very long stretch to go just to make another joke about how Squidward is in trouble, to say the least. Whereas in Jellyfishing, it really does just feel like it's SpongeBob and Patrick's silly accidents and the jellyfish, which, to be fair, the jellyfish sting SpongeBob and Patrick too. It's not like they don't. It's just jellyfish being jellyfish. Other than those three things, nothing else happens to Squidward. I mean, everything that happens is a result of the jellyfish, SpongeBob, and Patrick. Nothing else. There's no animal control people that come in and there's no people that laugh at him in a zoo. It just kind of helps the story if it feels like it's just SpongeBob and Patrick's mistakes versus just every single thing just has to take a massive dump on Squidward. My next point is one that a lot of people bring up. Squidward is quite the jerk in Jellyfishing versus The Thing, where really the worst thing he does to SpongeBob and Patrick in the beginning is slam the door in their faces. That's it. After that, SpongeBob and Patrick teleport themselves into his house and annoy him by asking all of these stupid questions when he's just trying to watch TV. After that, he does snap at them, but at that point, SpongeBob and Patrick have invaded his home and bothered him enough that I think it's warranted for him to yell at them. And yeah, like a bunch of people have said before, it's much better karmic justice if Squidward is a bad guy to deserve all of these bad things happening to him, versus when he's pretty much just a mild-mannered guy reacting how, well, most people would react to SpongeBob and Patrick home invading him. It just works a lot better, and especially in Jellyfishing, where there's the irony level of him saying, oh yeah, like I'd ever go jellyfishing with you, SpongeBob. When he does that, it's like he's actually asking for it. Versus The Thing, where he snarks about how SpongeBob and Patrick wouldn't appreciate public television, which, well, is kind of true, and they inserted themselves into that situation. And then there is my next point, which is revenge. In Jellyfishing, Squidward gets a little bit of revenge. He unleashes a jellyfish, and it goes about stinging SpongeBob and Patrick. And as I stated before, SpongeBob and Patrick are stung throughout the entire episode. In The Thing, oh, he doesn't get back at them at all. He doesn't get to get back at anything. He's just a cocoon of nothingness that hardly gets to react to anything. He doesn't get a chance to get back at SpongeBob and Patrick. He doesn't get back at them. He doesn't get a chance to get back at the zookeepers or anyone or anything. He doesn't get a chance to really do anything. He's just a prop that's there to be abused. And that brings me to my last point, which is something that I haven't really seen be brought up very often, but I think it's very important. In Jellyfishing, for the most part, Squidward looks angry. He looks like he's ready to snap at SpongeBob and Patrick. He looks like he hates being there. He looks like he's just waiting to get his chance to get back at them. There are a few times when he screams in agony, but primarily his general expression is that of anger. In The Thing, oh, most of his screams are just horrified, sad, depressed. That's not quite as funny as anger. When Squidward gets angry, that's really funny. When Squidward gets just so beat down that all he can do is let out these agonized sounds, that's not quite as funny. All of this kind of adds up to Squidward really feeling, in episodes like The Thing, like he is this abuse victim, where he's been in this relationship with SpongeBob and Patrick that he literally can't escape from no matter how hard he tries, and he can't get revenge or do anything but just be beat up and abused, and get really, really sad. It's like if Tom and Jerry was a show about a mouse who constantly picked on this cat, and the cat refused to do anything about it, or was just so incapacitated by Jerry that he could never even lift a paw to get back at him. That's the thing about Tom and Jerry. Even though Tom rarely does actually get a leg up on Jerry, he still does get in at least a little bit of damage, and at least he is trying. Even if he is constantly outsmarted, he is still trying. There is a give and take there, even if it is just an illusion. There isn't that give and take in these episodes. It just feels like two characters beating up on the one, even if it is accidental. I'm going to tell you a little story that I think is relevant. When I was in a sitcom studies class last year, my teacher talked about the famous scene in The Honeymooners. You know, the one where he's all like, "One of these days, bang, boom, straight to the moon." When we look at that clip, we're like, wow, apparently spousal abuse wasn't such a big deal back then. But actually, that's not the case. Spousal abuse back then was pretty horrible, just like it's pretty horrible today. The thing is, the reason why that joke works is because the woman, the wife, is not afraid of the man. He's this big, lumbering brute of a guy, so if there was any indication that he was actually going to hit her, she would be cowering, she would be afraid. She doesn't do that. You know what she does? She comes back at him with a comeback. That shows us that there is actually no physical threat there. That even though he is saying and doing these things, it really doesn't mean much. We're allowed to laugh because we know there is a give and take between the characters. They are on an even playing field. That's not what it feels like in these episodes. It doesn't feel like a give and take. It feels like Squidward has become an abuse victim, and that's really dang sad. So yeah, I guess that's my big point. When Squidward feels like he's on an even playing field to get back at SpongeBob and Patrick, the episode works a lot better. Regardless of whether he even gets a chance to get back at them or not, the fact that he wants to, the fact that he will maliciously and intentionally get back at them for something that they did that was an accident, I think that is one of the main things that differentiates an episode where Squidward is just a victim versus an episode where Squidward is someone who is willing to fight back and be almost this karmic villain in the episode. And there's one last point I have to make that doesn't relate to The Thing or Jellyfishing. There's a lot of episodes pre-movie where they do the shtick of Squidward looks down at SpongeBob and Patrick and scoffs at them for something, but he ends up actually liking it in the end, but doesn't want to show SpongeBob or Patrick that he actually likes it. He thinks he's above them, and he thinks that, oh, they're childish and what they're doing isn't actually fun, but then when he tries it himself, he has fun, but he's too proud to admit it to SpongeBob. That formula has been used in quite a few episodes, and it works. It works because Squidward is the one torturing himself. That works out a lot better than when SpongeBob and Patrick are doing it to him. When he is the one, when his snootiness, when his stuck-upness, when his pride is the reason why he is tortured, that works so well. And I think that those are really the best kind of episodes to have Squidward as the protagonist. Episodes where he is just this contradiction of a man that wants to join in on SpongeBob's fun, but he won't let himself because he's too proud. I think that works brilliantly, and that's a great excuse to have Squidward around the problem. Because one of the things they always have problems with in these episodes is how do they get Squidward and SpongeBob and Patrick in the same place at the same time? Why doesn't Squidward just walk away? And in a lot of these episodes, they either have SpongeBob and Patrick just teleport into Squidward's house and be these magical creatures that Squidward literally can't get rid of even if he locks them in a trunk and mails them away, or they have it where Patrick or whoever is literally holding Squidward down, like in Cephalopod Lodge. And in both of those scenarios, it's a lot worse than if it's Squidward's own fault that he's in this situation, where, he'll keep running outside to see what's up with the box SpongeBob and Patrick is in, or if he keeps putting himself in the vicinity of Krabby Patties because he's trying to get a bite of one. I think that works a lot better than having Patrick physically hold him down, or have it be where he can't even have solace in his own house. So there you go. That's what I think about this whole Squid Torture thing. I hope I threw out a lot of good points that you understand how, even though these episodes are two very, very similar episodes, they differ in a lot of really key ways, even if they're small ways, that make the situations entirely different. And no, you are not a hypocrite for liking certain Squidward torture episodes versus disliking other ones. A lot of people want to boil things down and just say, oh, all Squid Torture episodes are bad, when really, that's not the full picture. Each one of them does things a little bit differently, and sometimes they do some things right, and sometimes they do some things wrong, and the whole picture is what adds up to whether it's good or bad. You can't just generalize like that. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think. PIEGUYRULZ out.